10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
New phone, new dress, new flex. What's best? What's next? New text. Who guessed? You said, I said. We won, we dread. What's best? What's next? New phone, new dress, new flex. What's best? What's next? New text. Who guessed? You said, I said. We won, we dread. What's best? What's next?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd here, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Brian, aka Bigby McFly. How's it going, Brian?
Doing well. Glad to be here, man.
Glad to have you here, man. I think we have an exciting show tonight. I appreciate everybody that tuned into our last show. We were awesome guests we had on that show. We were joined by Swaggle House. If you haven't seen that after the stream's over, maybe you want to go check that out. This week we have a different wide-ranging set of topics, ranging from awesome comic book news to depressing negative stuff.
Right.
I'm kind of preloading that up front because I want to warn people we will talk about some heavy topics tonight. But if you remember from our last show, if you remember from the point of this show, Best Coast Comics, one of the things that we want to leave everybody with is some positivity. Or at least some hope. And so we're going to do things our way. And I hope everybody is ready for that tonight. And hopefully everybody can be in the right mindset for that tonight. Because it's been a week since something really terrible happened. And later on in the show, we will get to that topic. But we do have some other stuff we're going to cover first. First off, I just want to say hi to the chat. I want to say hi to everybody who's here watching Bigby and I tonight. I always got to thank GTK Comic for coming in often hours before the show starts and giving us that thumbs up. It means I know the stream is actually working. The chat's going to go off without a hitch. Bigby saying hi to the chat. And then Buddy, by the way, one of the news articles later that we're going to get to, the news items later, I'm able to talk about it because Buddy sent me a link about it. So I appreciate that, Buddy. Beard Night. We had so many show name ideas, Bigby, that there were a couple beard related ones.
Between Two Beards was one, right? Like
that was one of the finalists. But it was a great one suggested by the Copper Age Babe, my wife.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Love you being here, Comic Book Worm. We always love to see Naman in the house. Louis, hey, what's up, Louis? How's it going? Saying hi to Bigby. What's up, man? Yeah, I mean, well, it's something we're definitely going to talk about. Stay tuned for that portion of the show. You'll hear our opinions on that soon. And yeah, we appreciate that, buddy. So first, before we get to it, we had a guest last week. We've had a busy life since then. I just want to see, what's been going on, Bigby? How's life? How are you doing, man?
Life's been good. I picked up a collection this last week. I had some personal stuff messed up my knee at work, so that's been kind of a bummer. Been having to wear a knee brace, but other than that, things have been pretty good.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, it's been. I'll just be honest. For me, it's been a hell of I would say a week, but really, it's been more than that. Been a lot of weird stuff going on. But this last week has really put things in perspective, I think, for me and probably for a lot of people, I imagine. So. Yeah, one thing that I had a show right before this, so we didn't actually get a chance to talk about this. So I'm kind of curious. One thing we talked about was a certain giveaway.
Yes.
Are you prepared to talk about that?
Yeah,
Or should
got
we...
the
Cool.
piece right here, right? Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to throw a link up in a chat here in a second. So one thing that we started talking about in our previous installment is we met up with Hardline Ray at the Frankenstein Comic Swap in Portland, Oregon, and he donated that print. It's a signed print of Kingpin, really awesome artwork. He donated that to Bigby. Bigby had the awesome idea, and I fully supported it, of doing a giveaway to support Jen from Comics Will Break Your Heart, or Comic Books Will Break Your Heart, in her fight against cancer. She's got a GoFundMe where she is just passed over the goal. When we had our last show, she was just shy of the goal. Now she's just over the goal, but every little bit helps. If you want to donate $10 or more to her GoFundMe that I just pasted into chat, you get a chance to win that wonderful print. And we're going to try to get that done tonight or very soon thereafter on IG or something like that. We'll figure out something. We'll get that giveaway done, but consider this your last chance to go support. If you want to win the print, if you're watching this on Rewind, go support her anyway, show her some love.
Yeah. Even if she's hit that goal, she does have expenses that are going to keep on accumulating with her treatment and with living expenses and stuff. So we just want to make sure to keep supporting her. It's not just, there wasn't just a limit to that goal, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's awesome that goal was achieved, but man, it's just like, think about it. Like if you're willing to support a Kickstarter past its launch for like a comic book or something like that, then it's definitely worth supporting this GoFundMe past its funding goal, because that money is still being used for a good cause.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to talk about in the show, we're going to, the way we have it kind of broken up, the way that I did this in the notes here is that we're going to talk about some kind of comic book style news, right? And when I say comic book news, I mean news relating to either the collecting of comic books or something to do with comic books as a hobby, not with the stuff that comes with that sometimes. And so the first thing we're going to talk about here, I'm going to share this article from CBR because they did a really good job covering it. And that is the record-breaking sale of Action Comics #1. If you're not familiar, Action Comics 1 has sold, I think the closing costs were something over $6 million. So that's what the quote you're seeing now. Is it a $6 million sale, which is a new record for the first appearance of Superman. Absolutely astounding. Real quick, Big, do you have any thoughts on this, Bigby? Like, it's just, to me, it's just mind-boggling, but what are your thoughts about it?
I would love to have that kind of money that I could just be like, this is kind of just blow off money to be able to go buy or just to be like, I don't care what it costs. I want that book,
Yeah.
And I bet I was talking with a buddy of mine. He's like, man, CGC has got to be ecstatic about that sale as well, because they get a cut of the FMV, right? Whenever they grade a book. So the next 8.5 that they grade.
That's a really good point. I don't know why I didn't even really think about that, but that's 100% true.
Like they get a chunk, and I don't know if they've changed their stance, but on the last update they did on CGC, they got rid of the maximum cut. They used to have a maximum cut up to I think it was I forget. I think it was maybe $2,000 or something, but they got rid of that. So now they still get a full cut of that percentage.
So that does make me wonder when you think about and look, I'm just speculating here as somebody who, Blackstone became the controlling interest in CGC, and Blackstone is kind of a notoriously ruthless business, is what I will say. It does make you wonder when it comes to things like integrity and manipulation in the market, when they have that potential vested interest and they are the ones who are grading the comic.
You say conflict of interest?
By the way, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying a lot of us are thinking it, right? That's
right. The higher they grade that book, the bigger cut of money they're going to get. Right?
Exactly. E-Man says, just saying I wouldn't tell anyone I won the lotto, but there'll be clues. Oh, and then Buddy says they already have it relisted for $7.5 million. Is that true? Are you? Wow. Oh my gosh. I always wonder about that.
Saying something. So is that must be like a flat fee, not a it's like a come and buy it now, 7.5.
Yeah, because you do wonder about some of these big sales that have happened before with these major key books. They happened, a lot of them at the height of the COVID boom, and if that happened, if those people are sitting on those books and they want to relist them anytime soon, they're actually going to be losing money on them. Action Comics and an 8.5, that's a pretty rare collectible. It might be in a kind of a category of its own when it comes to that. But yeah.
I was discussing with, a little bit off the Action Comics but still on the CGC discussion side, the 9.9 thing, and how we're seeing a lot of 9.8s now going for record prices. And I think people are starting to look at things with a jeweler's loop, looking at that possibility of a 9.9 or a 9.9 pre-screen kind of idea. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot more record-setting prices for 9.8s. But
and I can't remember if we talked about it on the last show, but there was that giant size X-Men. I think we did talk about it. That got the
we talked a little bit about that with Swag.
Yeah, and that's, you're kind of in that ballpark with these books. E-Man raises a good question. What's the real question is, what is the FMV of this book? We know that the current purchase price of it is what the current purchase price of it is, but is it really valued at that price? I know it's valued at that amount for one person, and that's a good point. That actually relates to FMV in total, is that you can't take one sale and say, well, that's FMV usually.
Right. Well, because you see some of these auctions, they go off and they're like, it takes two to tango, right? It takes two to get that price up there. But then once that one person gets theirs, is there going to be still two people jacking that price up, or is there just going to be the one guy getting to his minimum, or whatever?
Because think about an eBay auction. I say that because I think most of us have been in that scenario. If you're going up against a book and you're trying to get those last bids in, or you have your max bid in or whatever, and you're getting up to that final minute, final seconds of the clock ticking off, just because one person paid, let's say $6,000 for the comic, doesn't mean the person who lost would pay $6,000, because obviously they didn't bid that high. In some cases, if they'd known that's how high it was going to go, they may have bid that high, but in the end they paid less. And so when you see two books that end like on the same night or really close to each other, right, they're very similar, you often see the second one go for less.
Oh, quite a bit less. Because the first guy has got what he wanted. He's out. So it's
exactly, your market has shrunk. That's market forces in effect, before our eyes. So
so I think it's really interesting to see that whole idea. But
interesting. Yeah. So they rolled it right back in. That is good information. Thanks for sharing that, buddy. Man, I don't know if I won it for that. Would I? If you're looking to flip it that quick, if you're putting in 1.6 to potentially clear 1.5, and then you'd be paying your selling fees on top of that, you're basically not making anything on that. I don't get that.
Maybe just a small portion over that. Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle says, by the way, shout out to Kyle, who's my co-host on Devil's Advocates. We had a show earlier tonight. There's no way to measure F&B on this particular Superman. The pedigree is so much of the value. You'd have to see the percent over market value. That's a good point. And I would say just this high of a grade on an Action Comics 1 kind of makes it a unique case in itself too. Right. It's a really good point. Okay, Buddy's pasted the link in there for people that want to check it out. But we do have a pretty full dance card, so feel free to keep posting your comments in there about this one. I'm curious to see what everybody says about this. In the meantime, I'm going to pull up my next link here, so give me a second while I do that. To me, Action Comics it's interesting because it's just one of those books I know I'm never gonna smell.
Never say never, but
I don't think there's much of a chance of it. Let's put it that way.
Bronze, there's good things coming your way.
The A-OK is in the mail, huh?
That's right.
I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where I start to wonder about books like that for sure.
That's interesting what Kyle just said.
My guess is it's listed again because the buyer wasn't a person; it was a collective or a business. Yeah, and that's a good point. There's a lot of that happening where people are buying partial shares of a physical collectible and then joint owning it like a collective, like he's talking about. That's a really good point. Hey, what's up, Comic Ozzy? Welcome to the show. We appreciate having you here. From our Canadian brothers up north, we love having you. We're the Best Coast Comics. That's a little tongue-in-cheek name, guys. Like we love everybody all around. It's mostly because we knew
all the way around.
Yeah, that's true. at this time of night, we knew it'd mostly be people on the West Coast, so that's part of it. And plus, we're both on the West Coast, but we love everybody from everywhere, and we want you all here. Our next story that I want to cover, and to me, this would be a really quick thing to talk about, but there's actually been a lot of discussion about it. So I'll read the headline, and then I want to get Bigby's opinion, and then we'll touch in with chat, and then I'll kind of tell you what I think about this. The Fantastic Four movie, which is, kind of been announced now. We have the casting with like Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, for example, has added their Silver Surfer, and it's the Shia LaBeouf version of Silver Surfer, being played by, in my opinion, the fantastic Julia Garner from Ozark's, probably her most famous role. But she's been in some other really good stuff too. But yeah, so she's been cast as the Shia LaBeouf version of Silver Surfer, which has created opinions within people.
That was coming.
Well, I'll be honest, I did not know this was coming, because there was some rumblings that there was going to be a female Silver Surfer about 6 months ago, before the main cast was announced. And then there were some rumors about that. By the way, that same rumor, I believe, I might be wrong, had predictions about the cast of the Fantastic Four that proved to be wrong. Right. So I think that's an important lesson to take from this too. And then a lot of people came out and said, oh, well, that's actually not true. There's no confirmation of that. But I never saw any real evidence one way or the other until this casting announcement came out that we're getting Shia LaBeouf. But yeah, when you saw the article, I knew what was coming for sure.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this, Bigby?
I mean, I see that both sides of it, where people are like, let's get the traditional Nora and Rad character represented, but I can also see where we're trying to create some buzz and get a little creative with it. I don't know. I mean, if you own a Earth X number 12, sell it now. That's got the first occurrence of her on the cover.
Yeah. There's a couple books for keys for her. I would agree with you. If you're looking to maximize your investment, it's probably hitting its peak right about now. By the way, Earth X is a fantastic read. I highly recommend reading it if you haven't read it yet.
Super good. Yes. But I'll hold back my judgment until I see the movie. I mean, ultimately, but I mean, I think they're going to try to make a quality product one way or another. So let's see what they do, right? Yeah,
and I mean, so I just highlighted Buddy's comment, which was, I'm just going to wait till it comes out and then I'll judge it. And it reminds me of a headline I saw, or not a headline, sorry, a social media post I saw where somebody said something about like, wait for the trailer before you judge it. And that was
right.
By the way, if you're seeing this and I'm connected with you on Facebook and you're that person, I made my comment on your post. I wasn't hating on you. But my reply was, wait till the movie comes out, because the trailer, I say this a little tongue in cheek because MCU trailers are very showy.
They give away a lot in the trailer. That's for sure. They do.
But they've also changed things too between the trailer and the release of the film, kind of notoriously in a few cases. Certain shots are inserted to hype people up, and they're actually not in the finished movie, for example.
Say Morbius trailer.
the Morbius trailer cut out. Infinity War had a shot in it that wasn't in the actual movie with Hulk instead of the Hulkbuster armor, stuff like that.
We had all the three Spider-Men, where we had them digitally edited out.
Yeah.
Stuff, so,
yeah. So that is, if you know me, you're a fan of my channel and what I do, that is 100% my opinion. But here's what I said in another group. Actually, so I guess I'm mixing up my groups I talked about this in. Somebody else is, like, hey, what's everybody's opinion on this? Which, first of all, it's like, just share your opinion. Don't ask everybody else what their opinion is kind of my advice. If you're making that post, that always strikes me as like, because what they literally said is, how do we feel about this? Tell me how you feel about it, and then let's go from there. Like, I'm totally down for that conversation.
How do we feel? How do we feel about this as a collective we? Huh?
Yeah, it was like looking for I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this. Tell me. Was and maybe I'm reading that wrong, by the way. But that's the thing.
Should I be outraged or should I be okay with it? Yeah, I could see. Yeah.
But that's totally, if that's how they feel, that's valid. I'm not trying to diminish that. I just like that always is a little interesting to me. But for me, it was like, we don't know where they're going with this.
Right.
So I'm keeping Buddy's comment highlighted here. They could be using this as a really awesome way to introduce Norrin Rad. First of all,
yeah, that's kind of what I had heard.
Rad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of had heard that they're gonna circle back and we're actually gonna get the true Norrin Rad surfer later on. So
yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's just it's the I'll say the thing that you're not supposed to say out loud. If you're me, according to a lot of people, which is that there's a lot of people out there that are going to say this is like MCU stuff. And I'm really bothered by that on a deep level, because if you're a fan of the MCU, or you were a fan of the MCU, I want you to consider this. The MCU isn't telling the comic book stories. They never really have. Like, nothing has been a very literal translation from the comic books. Infinity War wasn't like it was in the comic books. You didn't even have freaking Adam Warlock involved. He wasn't even introduced yet. I mean, he's a huge part of the Infinity Saga. So, I mean, like, at every turn, like, yes, of course, there are things that are very much like the comic books, but they're telling their own story. And as you go down that, that's like a snowball that rolls down a hill. And as it gets bigger and bigger, it's going to change from what you read when you're a kid. And I think at first, I would way rather have literal comic book movies. I would like the DC does a great job doing the animated movies for their properties, for example, adapting their storylines. It's not totally accurate, but it's really cool. I wish the MCU was more like that. But I also like a lot of what the MCU does outside of that. And that includes things that I know were very unpopular. Like, I liked She-Hulk. I thought it was a fun show. Did I want maybe slightly different directions here and there? Yeah, sure, I did. But like, I still enjoyed it for what it was. And I think there's this kind of narrative that, like, just because you're focusing on female characters or bringing in female characters, that it can't hang with the storytelling in the comics. But people are making those decisions without seeing the film. And that is where I'm like, trying to just urge some caution, because for all we know, her character is going to amazingly set up Norrin Rad, or maybe they're going to do such a great job with it, you're going to forget that Norrin Rad is the Silver Surfer. You might think that's impossible, but I bet you if I described a lot of the stuff that would happen back when Iron Man came out, that would happen in Infinity War and Endgame, that audiences overwhelmingly loved, you would have been like, wait, they're changing what? And people still love it.
Right.
So,
well, I'm waiting for people to. Did you see the other announcement that, or I think it was an announcement? Jeffrey Wright playing the Watcher.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that makes perfect sense. But no, I did not see that.
So yeah, so he's voicing him in What If,
right?
And so I heard that, it was in my chat group. Somebody posted a casting announcement of Jeffrey Wright playing the Watcher.
Huh.
And he's like, well, for all you guys who scream MCU and gender swap, race swap this, he's like, I want to hear you screaming out about race swap for the Watcher. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's hear it. Nobody said a thing. Everybody was all for it. I mean, but they're super happy with the way he's been in the What If series. So,
well, and to me, it's like I am one of those people who really wants to judge the finished product on the merits of the finished product. And this is something, like, I've kind of famously said this. My favorite character is Cyclops. If the X-Men film is announced and Cyclops is a woman, or Cyclops is somebody I identify with completely differently, I will have feelings about that. So I do understand it.
Right.
I still would watch it, and I still might like that interpretation of the character.
Judge it on its own merits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a character I love. And like, I have identity with that character in some ways that are hard to explain that I don't know if telling it from a different perspective is really the right way, but I'm still open-minded to it. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, K-pop.
Yeah, I'm way behind on the chat here. MCU trailers
Lots of comments going on there. A lot of people are very have some thoughts.
DOA for the FF movie, and yet I bet you a lot of people are still going to go watch it. Lord of Brooklyn. I bet you it's still. It's not like it's going to get a boycott and no one's going to go watch it day one.
So the one thing that I'd heard in discussion was that I could see a little merit to was people were saying it could create confusion with the Silver Surfer character himself, whereas people reading the Silver Surfer comics, and the character that as he exists in the Marvel Comics universe. But again, we're talking about movies versus comics, so I mean,
yeah,
they do the lines do cross, but
well, and Eamon, go read Earth X. You're talking about a legacy character changing them from Shella Ball. This is a real thing that happens in the comic books. She really is Silver Surfer in the Earth X comic book. So, I mean, now is it the 616 version that we're all used to? That's different, but then again, neither is the MCU.
But we're leading up to the Secret Wars storyline where we're going to have multiversal versions of characters, and we might very well could see Nora and Rad come through there, right? So I mean, who knows? Yeah,
and like, look, there are people out there whose favorite character in the world is Silver Surfer. There's a lot of people that there's not a lot of people that would say Cyclops is their favorite character. There's a lot of people that say Silver Surfer is their favorite character. There's fans, and they want their version of Silver Surfer. I think you're going to get it. I think it's going to happen. Now, to Bigby's point, or the point he's echoing here, would it be confusing for audiences? Maybe. But then again, I'm kind of curious to see how, like, you could say the same thing for John Krasinski playing, the certain version of Reed Richards that we saw in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And now we're getting a different version of Reed Richards in Pedro Pascal's performance in the new Fantastic Four. Right. By the way, I should point out, there's also a thing on the Human Torch poster that people are pointing out with the skyline in the background. This got released a couple days ago, that are making people say that this might be a completely different reality than what we've seen in the MCU so far. It might be a different multiverse, a different universe in the multiverse, I should say.
Well, we've got after the Marvels movie, we have Photon over in the X-Men's universe. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, and we got to talk about it because it's big news. Hopefully the environment that I would love to foster is that we can have our different opinions and share them in a respectful manner. Those that don't will usually be ignored unless there's a reason why we want to talk about it. But if you're able to respectfully share your opinion, we'll consider it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll highlight it. There's no reason not to.
I don't think anything that you and I have said. I don't think that I'm respectful of them being exploring different avenues. And
I think Lisa, I'm guessing that she's referring to some of the comments that are rolling through the actual live chat right now.
I get you.
Yeah.
We good to see. We get a lot of people in here sounding off, though. It's nice to see an active chat.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like, it's something I talked about in my last stream earlier tonight. May not always agree. I always want to hear your opinions. The only thing is, I'm less likely to listen to your opinion if you're not respectful to the rest of the people in the audience. That's all I'm saying when I say that. But I absolutely want to hear those different opinions.
We don't. Not everybody in the world is going to agree on everything. That's true.
Absolutely not. And I'll be honest. Like, here's my thing. Like, I wasn't super excited when I saw his announcement. Like, I wasn't like jazzed. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I was like, that's kind of a head scratcher. That was my first thought.
Well, I think they picked, like you said, they picked a good actress. That's kudos to them for that. And let's see where it goes. Right.
For sure. Yeah, I think that there's a really good chance that people might be surprised, because my hope, and it's all it is my hope, is that I think that it's a lot of thoughts going into Fantastic Four, because I think it's an important turning point for the MCU. And if you guys haven't noticed, there's been a slowdown in MCU releases, partially due to the strike, partially due to a couple other reasons, but they've kind of taken a beat, whether intentionally or not, to kind of consider what's going on. Hydrasylum says, here's a question for y'all. Do you think FF and Superman releasing so close together hurts or helps those movies? Do you think one will hurt the other? That's a great question. What do you think about that, Bigby?
I think you're going to have two different camps. So you got your DC fans and your Marvel fans, and you've got your comic fans in general. So I don't think that they're going to hurt each other. I think that we might, it's going to definitely give some more buzz to seeing comic movies, because I think, what are we only getting, like one big comic movie this year is going to be with Deadpool, right? I mean,
Deadpool and Wolverine,
yeah, and so there's going to be there was some burnout, I think, that happened, and now I think people are going to be kind of clamoring for a little bit more superhero stuff, hopefully, by the time that this stuff does come out. I know a lot of people that I'm talking to are really excited for the Deadpool movie, so
yeah,
we'll see.
That's a good point, E-Man, about the Barbenheimer thing, because I feel like there's been some of that recently. There was like both Godzilla movies releasing kind of close to each other. And then you're talking about these two superhero movies releasing close to each other. They're from different camps, but we have a lot of carryover and fans, and also just a lot of established. I mean, Marvel's first family, DC's poster child, if you will. In some ways, you could argue Batman might be, but I think that's a very very huge thing for both companies. So, and I think that even though it's not a whole new MCU, I really do think this is going to be kind of not a soft reboot, but like a jumping on point for people. And then Superman, obviously, that's the first James Gunn universe thing that we have coming out. Yeah. So very cool.
I like what Trade Paper Dad said there. Not hype on the FF movies anyway, but we got a good FF movie. It was called The Incredibles.
Well, it's kind of interesting. There was the original Corman FF movie too that never technically was released, although it's definitely out there and many people have seen it. That was actually interesting.
I watched a little bit of that. They have that on YouTube for free right now.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. By the way, if you're a channel member, I've stopped doing it. I need to go back to doing it because things have been crazy. But for a while, we were watching one terrible superhero movie a month, and I was doing ones that I hadn't seen before, at least not in full. And I think that was the first one we watched, was the FF Corman film, and it was eye-opening. Not good, but also not its own fault, really. Like if it had a full budget and it was, at the time, it might have actually been okay. It wasn't for lack of like taking itself seriously. Like it tried. The actors were trying, like, it tried to be a real movie. And then earnest telling of the Fantastic Four, for that matter. Yeah.
I mean, it was probably you talk about the Corman one, right? That's probably the best Doom we've got so far. That's a sad thing to say.
Yeah, I agree with Dan's X-Men comments. I think we'll get the Surfer we want eventually. And that's part of it. Is I know that I say all this, and like I hope people understand, like I also know that like there's people that are just, they really want to see a return to like what they're hoping for out of the MCU, like what they envision, and I totally get that. And I don't want to diminish that by any stretch of the imagination either. Like I think that's a legit thing, but I also think like it'll happen eventually. So boom, be patient when we get further data. Right now it's just building the cast. Agreed. We got plenty of time, folks. Yeah, that can be true.
You can see where they do kind of a bait and switch, where we're thinking they're going to get, and then all of a sudden, boom.
That's what makes me wonder. That's what makes me wonder if we're not in the same universe. Like this might be like people thought if you remember when Doctor Strange 2 came out, people didn't know that it was going to, even though it was called the Multiverse of Madness, people thought that was going to be, okay, we have Patrick Stewart as Professor X because of that Super Bowl trailer. The leaks came out. We thought John Krasinski was going to be our Reed Richards. We might see Patrick Stewart back as Professor X, maybe. You know, because we got the Marvel's after credit scene, that could kind of imply we could get him back. But clearly Reed Richards is being played by a different actor. This could be a completely different universe, and it could just be like halfway through the movie they can switch over to another one for all we know.
Right.
You know? Okay, guys, I am really trying to get caught up with chat here and trying to get to our next story. So excuse me if I do glance over some comments. I'm really trying to get to all of them, but luckily you guys are all being awesome out there and giving us lots of stuff to talk about. Yeah, Ozark is amazing.
Great chat.
Yeah. Yo, Carl, dude, it has been a while. Thanks for dropping in, man. Absolutely. Guys, go check out 247 Comics over on Instagram. Is a good place to follow them. You guys remember Carl? He's one that kind of helped get me in touch with Sean Chen and Daniel Wu for the Evermind Kickstarter, and I talked to them. I'm always excited to see what he has going on for sure. So glad to see you're in here, man. I know we need to connect again soon. So, yep, rooting for it to be good I think is a good approach. Yep, you're never gonna.
Fourth try for Fantastic Four now.
Yeah, and I think they got to be aware of that, right? Like, if it doesn't work this time, there's gonna be problems.
Well, we've had two Dark Phoenix now, so I guess if we go four FF, then Phoenix has 2 more shots, right?
Yeah, 2, like almost kind of sort of 3, almost. I feel like it's been bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do want to get caught up. Okay, so here's the next story I want to talk about, and this one, man. Sorry, I got to add this to our little thing here, and I will start talking about it before people can see the article we're talking about. This one is interesting to me. So this was a kind of a news story that I think got slipped under the radar in some ways a little while back, but Marvel has officially added Roy Thomas to the list of creators of Wolverine. And
okay.
I don't know how to feel about this. And chat, this is where I really want to hear your opinions on this too. And there's one thing that I saw this article before the show, and I haven't had a chance to go read it yet, but I think it's a reply to that original story. And I'm trying to see if I can get to the quote. Looks like here is Roy. Nope. Bobby Chase related on her Facebook page over the weekend. She wrote, "My friend and Lone Ween's widow, Christine Vallada, got a call from Marvel executive David Bogart informing her that in the upcoming Wolverine and Deadpool movie coming out this July, Roy Thomas will now be credited as the co-creator with Len Wein and John Romita Sr. And David said, it's a done deal. I was standing in Christine's kitchen this past Sunday, and as she told me about the phone call, of course, Christine is seriously concerned about Len's legacy. Len was profoundly important to the comic book industry, and that legacy is being changed for the worse 6 years after his death." Yeah, and this kind of set the world on fire. So real fast, I'm going to remove that. We'll get to the reply here in a second. I just want to know, Bigby, where are you at with this idea of adding Roy Thomas to the list of creators so many years later?
It's kind of you've got it happening, like you said, after Len Wein's death. So like he has no recourse or way to combat or say, no, that's not the case, or plead his case for that. It's kind of sketchy at best.
Yeah.
What do you feel on it?
That's you hit the nail on the head with my major concern, which is that it's taking place after his death, where we don't kind of get the other side of the story there, which concerns me. At the same time, I am a big proponent of creators getting credit for their work. And from what he has said, it involves the naming of the character and him being Canadian, if I recall correctly. And naming, like saying like that's the right name for the character and that's the way we go. That's a huge part of creating the character. I can't like discount that if that is true. So it's one of those things where it's like I feel like the timing is terrible, but like we don't always get to control that stuff, of course. So that's kind of hard to say, like, for me. This is why I wanted to see. Oh, go ahead.
Just a little, like I said, the timing is a little sketchy.
Yeah.
It's like you'd want to have these things hammered out before people start passing away who are credited as being creators of the characters. So, I mean,
yeah. And that's a good point too, by the way, Lord of Brooklyn, Cockrum having saying it too, but I do want to, so again, I didn't read this Forbes reply that has a quote from Roy Thomas. So I want to include that real fast and make sure I read this before we move on to our other big stories of the night. The author of the Forbes article says, I spoke to Roy Thomas, 83, by telephone for his perspective on the situation, which he was eager to clarify. He says, the situation is unfortunate because I'm only trying to finally get credit for something where the facts have been known for many years. And I'm being portrayed as a ghoul trying to rob the corpse of Lin Wein for credit and money, he said. First and foremost, this is not a financial issue. I'm not getting a penny as far as I know, and it in no way takes away from whatever Lin and John, referring to Wein and the Ramita's families, will be getting, if anything. I don't know what their financial arrangement is with Marvel. I'm already getting money from my other contributions to Marvel. I don't need Wolverine money. Thank you very much. It's an interesting addition to that, because there's a lot of people that would say this is about money. But you can also just say it's about credit and legacy. I mean, Roy Thomas is somebody who, without this, has a legacy in the comics industry that is undeniable, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so it looked like as that story went on, he was just saying this is about getting credit where credit is due. And so.
And he did mention, another part that I think is important there is that he's been trying to clear it up for years, or he said the facts have been known for many years. And that would be my biggest thing, is it's not like Wolverine was created in the recent past.
Right.
So, but here's where I'm sympathetic to this. It's because I know publishers, and particularly Marvel, have had a checkered past with giving creators their proper due. And that's where this, to me, is one of those things where it's a tough situation, because I don't know if there's any way to really have all the facts here. And you could say, like,
it wasn't we weren't thinking about royalties and credit back in the day. I mean, when I say we, I'm like I was there, but I mean, they weren't thinking about how things were going to shake out and how important that was going to be. They were just trying to write stories and get a monthly paycheck, right? Write stories, draw pictures. So,
but I mean, we did see, even like fairly early on, by the way, hi to everybody jumping into chat here. We did see fairly early on, issues with creators saying like, hey, I should get some credit for this, or more credit should be given for this. And Marvel has kind of like I said, a checkered past. And it's really a troubled history with this. Kyle, this is Marvel revising history. Kurt Busiek said it best: if you hire an architect to design a house for you and you say, I want it over there by that tree, do you get to call yourself an architect? This reads like giving someone credit so you can say you did, just in case someone someday says you didn't. Yeah, okay. So Lord of Brooklyn says Dave Cockrum has a whole different take on the creation of Wolverine, including the design that later went to Timberwolf. That is interesting. And I do know that there is like something with a fan suggestion that came in for Wolverine, which is, by the way, it reminds me of the black suit situation with Spider-Man, which originally was kind of a fan idea that Marvel purchased from him.
A Boom issue that the fan suggestions in?
I think so. I believe that's correct. So I'll be honest with everybody. I don't have the answers to this situation. I can't definitively tell you one way or the other, for me, Bronze Age nerd, what the right and wrong of this is. I do hope somehow there's some definitive, maybe a letter or something that could surface that might show, hey, there is a track record or a history or a paper trail for this to being discussed. Lynn being aware of it, or depending on who was aware of it. But again, where I'm kind of sympathetic to the idea is I do want to make sure that creators get credit for what's due, but it does feel it feels interesting with the timing, and it feels, when I say interesting, it's kind of euphemism for it feels a little dirty.
Little
So
sketch.
John Byrne getting credit too. Yeah. I mean, so that kind of, to me, as far as I know, John Byrne was more involved with, like, say, the kind of the origin reveals and stuff. Maybe you're referencing something I'm not aware of, Kyle.
Well, I think he had part to do with the claws being not just part of his gloves, but being in his.
Yeah, but that was
body.
after he was introduced, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Originally, the idea was that the claws were just part of his gloves.
So that's kind of like, do you consider Eric Larson a co-creator of Venom because he added, like, the tongue and the slime?
Right. No, he was an innovator on Venom. He changed him a little
Yeah.
bit.
But again, Kyle, if you're referring to something that I'm not aware of, please educate me. I'd love to hear what you might have to add for that. But that's kind of where I fall on it. Is I can't tell you one way or the other. I think it's a great thing to talk about because I'm getting some opinions in chat that I wasn't thinking about before. Some things I can go look up, like Dave Cockrum and his relation to stuff that might have happened here as well. If they give it to John too, you could say anyone who has anything to do with the origin. And I mean, like, you know what? There's an interesting idea right there. Is, maybe we look at the credits for characters like this wrong in the first place, and it should include stuff like Eric Larson and Venom, and it should include John Byrne and all sorts of other people for Wolverine.
The tongue thing with Venom has kind of become a trademark thing for Venom, right? But I mean,
it is like one of his distinguishing features by far.
And a lot of creators do flesh out the characters more as the years go by and give more to. And I think they do credit that in a lot of times in the credits for the movies and stuff. It'll say, credit to, and it gives like a list of different creators that these stories were drawn from, stories by, or art by, da 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 da. So
but that's also part of the problem, is because, like, you have like situations where, like, for Hawkeye, Fraction getting the credit instead of Aja getting the credit for that, for the art direction, which the art direction was a huge part of the character and that storyline that's told. And so you do run into situations like this where it's something I talked about in an interview with Randy Emberlin back in my show, because Randy Emberlin is a co-creator of Carnage. And I asked him, like, hey, so do you get any credit for that? Do you see anything from that? And he says, no, nothing whatsoever. And so, like, it's one of those things where it really bothers me when people who did work on these things don't get the credit they're due, for historical preservation's sake. And it's why I feel like when you start talking about things like rights for comic book creators, this is the kind of stuff that I want it to just be ironed out. Like, I want to have, like, a firm understanding of, like, we credit so-and-so as the creators. If they wrote, illustrated, or brought to the editorial the idea for the character, we're going to officially credit them as the creators. And then it gets locked, and there's no, editorial can't be involved. Those kinds of rules. I want publishers to come up with those rules for things like royalties for when these characters get made into multi-million, multi-billion-dollar properties, so that their families, their estates, I don't want people having to rely on things like the Hero Initiative to support themselves later on in life when they can't afford their medical expenses and all these different kinds of things, because it's sad.
When you look at a character like Deadpool, I mean, he was created by Liefeld, right? But the way he was, where he's breaking the fourth wall and everything else, didn't come along until later on in his character development. So I mean, do the creators involved in that part of his character development deserve credit for part of who he is?
Yeah. It's a good example too, because, like, I mean, if you're not familiar, if you go back and read early Deadpool stuff where he appeared, he's very obviously a Deathstroke parody.
He's a Deathstroke Spider-Man with the smart mouth who has no morals. That's basically it.
Yeah, and the smart mouth thing is, it's not, because it's not that when you think of smart mouth Deadpool today, it's not smart mouth Deadpool then.
No,
He has kind of like a quippy nature about him, but then again, Deathstroke does at times too. Like he can be a little, sharp-witted. Yeah, very well said, Zero. Joe Kelly is Deadpool's father. I love how you asked that, CJ. I love how you asked that. We're highlighting comments from chat. We are the livest, the realest, the illest,
I've
the
been
best.
living in and all that.
But yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I have any more thoughts on it, but I definitely think it's a fascinating topic.
It is. It's very multifaceted as far as like who deserves. At what point do you say, okay, this is a finished character, or do people deserve credit for fleshing them out? So
yeah. So in the interest of time, and like we've had a really awesome conversation going with Chad here, and I think we'll have more to talk about with them. I think there's really only two other topics that I think we should hit tonight.
okay.
And they're the two ones that were in the title of the video. And
Okay.
Co-host Bigby, I'm going to let you pick which one we talk about first. Do you want to talk about the Ed Piskor stuff, or do you want to talk about the SOZOMAIKA stuff first?
Let's go heavy first. Let's go with the Piskor stuff first.
Okay. So here's what I'll say about the situation. I'm sure by now most people are familiar, very much so, that last Monday, comics lost a very powerful figure. Ed Piskor took his own life, and it sent shockwaves throughout comic books, is the best way that I can describe it, from looking at it. And before his death, I didn't say much about what was going on. There was a tiny bit of conversation that happened in my Discord, because I saw DMs that were shared, and I shared those in I have a section where I share kind of things that are happening, like news in the comic book community. And I said, this doesn't look good. A lot of people had conversation after that, and I just tried to moderate that conversation to make sure we were staying mature in my Discord server. And you didn't see a video from me about it. You didn't see public comment, because I was waiting for more information. I don't really like to talk about those kinds of things until there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
We got more information.
So.
Yeah. And we got more information on April 1st, which complicated matters, because there was some confusion at first of whether or not this was some sort of macabre April Fool scenario, or somebody hacking, on a social media account. But it was shortly confirmed thereafter. The first confirmation I saw from the family came through Comic Tropes. If you know Comic Tropes, he's been on the show before. I've been on his show before. Great community member. He talked to Ed's family and had confirmation, and maybe it was confirmed somewhere else. But that's where I saw it. And once he said that, I was pretty confident that Ed had taken his own life. And I made a judgment that I was not going to talk about this publicly for at least a week, because I was disgusted and sickened by a lot of the conversation that I saw that day and afterwards. It really affected me a lot, even though I'll be honest, I couldn't, 2 weeks ago, you could ask me if I was an Ed Piskor fan, and I would have told you no. I'm not heavily related to him. I didn't watch Cartoonist Kayfabe. I didn't read a lot of his stuff. I hope to change that, as I end up with more time and ability to do that. But I just didn't run in the same circles. It wasn't my style of stuff. I just never did. And yet I was seeing these comments that were affecting me in a very serious way, because people, I don't think they understand. His family, his loved ones, his friends were seeing so much of that conversation out there. And I didn't want to be part of that voice. I didn't want to be part of that conversation so quick after that happened. That was their time. It was their time to grieve cope with their loss. Whatever you feel about the situation, he's gone now. And they're still here. They still have to deal with all the comments that you make. And if any of them are watching now, but by some chance, I'm sorry that you're having to see this brought up again. We're going to try to have a really respectful conversation about what happened, a mature conversation about what happened, I hope, and we can talk about that. But it is one of those things where if you read that note, and I know some people have, some people haven't, it'll affect you. It should affect you, I think. That's kind of my introduction on this topic. Bigby, I want to give you a chance to kind of share your thoughts and react to it too.
I mean, yeah, having read that note, I mean, it's the words of a man the entire world is crashing down on him. And whether you believe one side or the other, it's incredibly sad what happened. He was an immensely talented artist. And the loss of a human life is nothing to scoff at. A lot of people, it kind of makes me upset to see people just so offhandedly make comments about that kind of thing. But at the same time, I mean, the accusations that were brought against him are very serious, and so I think it's just sad on all sides. Yeah, that's it. Very disheartening. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I think it's important to not react so quickly to what we see in the media, or to try not to. And I say that because let's take a really, really, really benign in comparison topic, like the Julia Garner being cast as Shellaball. I would tell people, I had a reaction to that, like initial reaction, like confusion or whatever. But I also am like, hey, let's see what's going to happen. Let's see what's what here. Is there more to this? Going back even further, it's a really weird metaphor and analogy, but going back even further, when I saw those initial rumors that, they're going to do a female Silver Surfer or whatever, I didn't jump to conclusions that was the case. Now, it turns out they are doing a version of that. But there's a million of those rumors that come out that just aren't true. We can't take the first sign of something as the gospel truth. And at the same time, in the same breath, I don't think we can ignore people that try to bring forward things like his accuser tried to bring forward. True or not, and I don't think anybody can definitively say one way or the other from what I know. It's important to kind of respect both sides of that coin and know that, I'll be honest. There's somebody I talked to and I thought they already knew about the situation. They didn't. And this was in a private conversation. And I said, here's the situation about, because I thought they were talking about it. And it turns out they were talking about something else. And I said, yeah, that whole situation is crazy or something like that. Like, with the Ed Piskor situation. And they said, oh, what happened with Ed Piskor? And I had to try to explain it to them. And, I said, it looks bad, basically is what I said. And I regret saying it that way. I should have said, and that's still kind of true, but I still, because it did look bad, I still should have said, there's some allegations, there's some accusations, here's where they are, judge for yourself kind of a thing. Right. So I'm not casting a stone here and not taking responsibility for it. Now I did that privately, not publicly. But I still did it. and so I still take some responsibility too in that situation.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just feel like the whole situation was sad. And like I said, like
yeah,
we were talking beforehand that I felt, I mean, I'll just say disgusted by some people really just trying to get views or clicks off of his situation and screaming for his head, you know, coming out with pitchforks. And then in the same breath, as soon as we found out he had passed, they were saying, you know, R.I.P. Ed Piskor, gone too soon, you know,
yeah,
just to try to cash in on that side of it. It's very, again, just disheartening to see that people trying to use another human life that way.
yeah.
So,
And like I fully want to say that I appreciate that there's a nuance to this conversation around one element, which is you know, kind of a little bit of what CJ is saying here. CJ saying we should be having conversations about what Piskor did. There are a lot of mentally ill people in our community that have similar thoughts and should know that acts like this don't make one a martyr. Okay, so I'm going to disagree on we should be having conversations about what Piskor did. We don't know what Piskor did. I don't. If you do, let me know. I don't know.
is he saying what Piskor did as far as ending his existence, or what Piskor did as far
I'm
as?
sorry. Maybe he did mean that. I mean, you know what, CJ, if that's what you meant, I apologize. I thought you were talking about the accusations for him. I'm sorry.
I think he's trying to say that we should be talking about,
Yeah.
if you're feeling this way, please
Bigby, I think
seek
you're
some
right.
help or talk to other people.
I think you're right,
that's
man.
absolutely. I mean,
Totally.
if we can share the numbers for prevention hotlines and that stuff while we're
Yes.
talking about this, that would be great. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
I apologize, CJ. You know, I will tell you, it's a charged topic, and I apologize if I overreacted quickly there. I've also had a heck of a week myself in some other ways, to where I'm very, 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 very tired right now. I had a sick kiddo. I didn't get any sleep last night, so it's tough for me on that. It doesn't excuse it. I'm just telling you the reason that I'm probably not functioning on all 6 cylinders right now, if I ever truly do. So the number you can text or call, I'm just going to paste it in the chat. It's really simple. It's 988, and you can text or call. It's a free service. And the reason why I'm mentioning that right now is, before we talk about any of this, is because we are talking about very serious situations. A lot of us know somebody who has taken their own life. A lot of us know somebody who isn't with us anymore for reasons like this, and not, you know, for taking their own life, I should say. And it's a serious deal. It's a serious deal.
I mean, and if any of you guys out there are dealing with somebody who is thinking of or reaches out to you, and I had a friend of mine who called me up at 1:30 in the morning. I had to be at work at like 4:30, and he's telling me that he was thinking about ending himself, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And so I kept him on the line, was texting his significant other, and after I got somebody to make sure that he was going to be okay, I called 988 myself just to find out what I should do, what they suggested I should do. Because I told him to call that number, but then, you know, I didn't know how to deal with it myself. What should I do?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and I did paste the link in the chat. And it's important if you didn't know it existed, and it's important if you need to share that resource with somebody else. So I'd say bookmark it,
Absolutely.
save it. You know, whether you need it or somebody you love or know needs it. It's just one of those things where
Richard is asking if he's okay now. Richard, he did indeed end his life. Oh, my friend. My friend
Yeah.
is okay. My friend is fine.
That's what you're talking about.
In fact, I'm supposed to go have lunch with him next week, and I try to stay in touch with him on a regular basis. But yeah, no, it was a very difficult situation for me to go through to try to handle that. And let me say that I would say if you have somebody dealing with that, um, there's no coming back. So I mean, I skipped work that whole day and just made sure I was there for them because I was the only person he felt he could reach out to. So just if that does indeed happen, I encourage you to try to help somebody as much as you can, because we never know where we're going to be someday, and hopefully we have somebody that can take care of
Yeah.
us and help us through things.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just throw in my 2 cents, and there's only so far I want to go down this rabbit hole on a stream like this, but um, when I say mental health is very important to me, like I've struggled with depression before, folks. I have not anytime recently, thankfully, been considering stuff like this before. I mean, years and years and years and years ago, and I think I'm in a much, 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 much better place now. But I understand how this happens, and I think that it's important to point out that there are people that definitely are more prone to do this than other people. Um,
Yeah, I
learn to
mean,
watch for the warning signs. Like watch out for people out there.
I can't imagine. I mean, I can imagine, but I can't fathom the amount of, you're just one person and you feel like you have a million people crashing down on you,
Yeah,
people who have no idea are just going off of what they've read or what, and calling for your cancellation. I mean, in it had to have been rough. That's all I have to say about that for him.
yeah,
I'm not agreeing with what he did, but it's just sad. But yeah, you and I had talked about at some point, talking about more in depth about mental health and the hobby and YouTube and collecting and just comics in general and art and that kind of thing. So I think that's something we can touch on in a more positive tone later on. But yeah, it seems like we've got a really charged conversation going on. We're not trying to encourage you guys to fight amongst yourselves or anything at all.
yeah. I was just going to address that. So, folks, there's several of you in the chat right now. Some of you I know better than others. I do want you to have conversation with each other. I'm going to respectfully ask that you think about the mental health of those you're talking to and try to be more considerate to each other. Think about the topic we're talking about right now. Think about how important this is and realize that you're talking to other people who may not be in the best mental place themselves. You don't know. Feel free to share your opinions about your own perspectives on things. Please do me one favor. Try not to judge other people's opinions so outwardly on this topic right now, because it is a serious one. I would consider it a favor if you did. Okay. One thing that I think happens when this topic comes up is there's some blaming that happens. And I think that's, kind of one of the reasons that I brought up that it's something that I've thought about before. I'll tell you that anybody telling me that wouldn't help me. It wouldn't help me at that time. But I also understand, like, some people that have lost others have hurt associated with this too. And this is why it takes, like Lisa's saying, a little grace goes a long way here. And it's important. And you know, I'm not trying to make anybody feel embarrassed in the chat or anything like that. Like, this is serious stuff, folks. People have real feelings. We're talking about literal life and death. And, you know, one thing I just want you to think about is think about families of people, loved ones of people that are in this situation. And try to reflect that. Yeah, and I, you know, I think Lisa said it very well with the grace comment. Let's show some grace, folks. To be fair, I don't really have a lot else I need to say about this topic at this moment. Specifically,
I think just saying that it's sad is fair enough on all sides, and we just wanted to touch on it. It is a topic that has happened, and I wanted to share the prevention number and encourage anybody, if you know anybody who's going through it, or if you're going through it yourself, don't feel ashamed to reach out and ask for help, or ask for help for you to help others. When I called them, they were incredibly helpful and with telling me how to help my friend with his issues. So there you have it.
Yeah, and I mean, the only other really thing I want to say is there's a, you know, I think you brought up a good point with some people that were quick to judge and then quick to you know, try to get clicks, you know, we'll put it that way. But I know a couple people that I'm not going to name names on, that I saw them share like real stories of their interactions with Ed. And that was the other thing that affected me before coming in today. People, I mean, there's someone I've followed this person for years, and I had no idea they knew Ed. And I say Ed, like, I mean, you know, I just feel weird saying the full name over and over again, but I didn't know him from Adam. But seeing their reaction to this and sharing their memories, it was really powerful. And it just was a reminder. It's like, regardless of any of the truth of what may or may not have happened, which is serious. I'm not discounting that at all. It's serious business, whether it's true or not. As far as the accusations beforehand, seeing the effect on somebody who rarely shows that type of reaction or emotion to anything, to this. Another really powerful thing, by the way, that is just publicly available out, and they made it publicly available. Go listen to what Rob Liefeld had to say about this. That was a very, very interesting reaction to everything. And boy, I'm glad I watched that. I'm not glad I had a reason to watch it. You know, I wish it never had to happen, but I don't generally watch Rob Liefeld talk about stuff or his content generally anymore, just because I've seen enough of it. I feel like I know what I'm gonna get. Someone shared that clip. I think it was Brian McFly from Beyond Wednesdays shared it at the end of one of his streams, and it was powerful. I mean, reading the note was obviously extremely powerful, as best way I could put it. Seeing that reaction was really powerful. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, I'll leave it with the 988 up there. Share it. And see, I wish I knew that, Zero. I knew, like, I could tell from his video, I knew they had a lot of interactions with each other. He talked about how he met him and everything. But yeah, it sounds crazy that I never watched Cartoonist Kayfabe. I'll tell you, I think it's dumb enough that I knew kayfabe was a wrestling term, and I was like, maybe it's about wrestling. I just never watched it because I'm not a wrestling guy. And now I look forward to going back and checking out some of it too, once things have kind of settled down with the, you know, I know there was a lot of good stuff there. I know it was a very well-loved show. And this is a story, you know, whatever this topic, whatever you want to call it, is not over. There is more stuff that'll certainly come out one way or the other about this. And so I'm sure that
unfortunately we're going to be now in the same kind of situation where we were talking about someone has passed and we're trying to determine what happened for creation of something. Now we're going to have someone has passed and not there to defend themselves against what's being said. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that's where we're going to kind of leave that one. I almost feel like I need a palate cleanser of some kind to kind of move on to a different topic. Sorry, folks, but you know, it's one of those rough things, and hopefully anybody out there. I will say this much: if you want to talk more, you need help about anything, you can always reach out to me through any of my DMs or through my Discord or whatever. They're all in the links down below. The final major topic for tonight is interesting. I would have some echoes.
Interesting.
Because it involves people jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
And it involves, you know, I would also say there's some reasons why people jump to conclusions. So, by the way, shout out to Geek Out with Roscoe in the chat. Hey, what's up, man? Kyle saying, palate cleanser topic. What's your favorite palate cleanser for spicy foods? That is a good.
I got a palate cleanser for you. How have you been enjoying the newest episodes of X-Men 97?
Oh, that's a good one. First, I'm actually going to answer this question. For me, it's like the celery that you get with buffalo wings or something like that. Like I would say.
There you go.
Probably,
there you go.
Yeah.
It's a good palate cleanser. Absolutely. A little milk.
Milk's great. There's a story. Okay, I'll tell you. Here's a real fast story. I'll tell you. This kind of get me off the mood I was in a second ago. To be able to finish out the show. When I was in high school, I had a Spanish class project, and it was to make a recipe at home, like a traditional Mexican recipe at home, or it could have been Spanish too, I guess. But I think pretty much everybody focused on Mexican cuisine. And I chose chili rellenos, which are one of my favorite dishes. I thought it'd be fun. My mom was interested enough in trying it out to like help me out with it, which I needed help. And my best friend who loves food came over, and we went to the store and got all the ingredients. And one of the ingredients is tomatillo peppers that we were going to put into. We're going to make like a little salsa verde for one of the dishes or something. I think is how that factored in. It was a long time ago. This was high school. And there was some weird little pepper in the bag when we brought it home. Neither of us to this day can tell you what it is. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like the internet wasn't as easy to browse for stuff like identifying weird peppers. And we decided we were going to split it in half and eat it. And that thing killed us. I don't know to this day what it was, but we each drank probably like a gallon of milk to like calm it down. And I've eaten plenty of spicy food for somebody who's not like, you know, I wouldn't say spicy food's like my cuisine or whatever, but I mean, I've eaten like Thai spicy stuff before, not really had much of a problem with it, you know, like some, you know, like legit spicy stuff. Right. And this thing just killed me. So that's, I needed milk after that. So I guess that technically is my most effective palate cleanser.
So I had a job, gosh, I'm gonna age myself here, about 30 years ago, but I worked with a primarily Hispanic crew. And they said when you eat something really spicy, don't drink anything. They said eat like bread or crackers. They said don't drink anything. They said that amplifies it, no matter what you drink.
Well, it kind of moves it around all your soft tissues too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think sugar is supposed to be like technically like the best thing, but I don't know. Oh yeah, there we go. Honey. Okay.
Honey, there we go. All right.
Figure it was like thin, small. That's the thing is my memory of it might be playing tricks with me. But yeah, talking about X-Men 97. So here's what I'll tell you. I posted a meme about Motendo. I don't want to get into spoiler territory. I don't think that it's part of the name of the episode, so I think I'm safe there. That, by the way, this was exactly.
I want to know where I get my Motendo. Where do I get my Motendo?
Idris Allen. This is exactly what my friend and I were thinking. I was like, this is the kind of trouble he would get me into in a good way, because it
Let's
got me
split it.
out of
Not
my.
like, hey, I'm gonna eat it. Why don't you try it first? Let's try both at the same time.
Yeah,
Right?
and luckily that's the best thing. Yeah, well, and I will say, Asian spicy peppers have a much different heat and kick to them than my experiences with like Central American spicy cuisines. I would rather eat the Central American spicy stuff all the time over the Asian spicy stuff, because Asian spicy stuff, if you get the really, really, really spicy stuff, it'll kill me. At least, I don't know.
So no spoilers, but
Yeah,
how did you feel about episode 3?
it wasn't as good for what I'm looking for, but it was more fun.
I will say the animation in that episode was off the charts.
Yeah.
However, I felt like they crammed about 3 or 4 episodes worth of stuff in one episode.
Yes. It was kind of interesting, because I will say, I don't think this is really a spoiler, but they did kind of do like an A story, B story kind of a thing.
I'm talking about episode 3.
Yeah.
And we got episode 4, which had A story, B story.
Oh, you know what? I guess I've only watched episode 3 so far, through episode 3, I should say.
Episode 4 was the A story, B story.
Okay, no, then I watched it 4. I'm trying to remember which all ones I watched, but yeah, I watched the one that was Motendo and Life and Death or whatever, right?
So we had 2 episodes the first week, and a 3rd episode, and then
yeah. That's what's tripping me up. That's what's tripping me up. Okay,
right.
But yeah,
so the 3rd episode was Madeline.
Yeah.
Let's say Madeline.
Yep, and then the 4th episode was Motendo. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about.
3rd episode was kind of like a bunch crammed together. Lot of storyline crammed into one episode. As far as comics continuity, in my opinion. And then
I don't know. To me, like that's having just rewatched the original animated series. That's what the original animated series was like, though.
Yeah. No, they did cram a lot of storyline into one episode in the original series, for sure.
Like, they would do like a 2 or 3 parter, and it would cover like the full, extension agenda or whatever, like it was
right. Yeah.
So,
but okay, so episode 4, A story, B story.
Yeah, episode 4 is it to me was less good, as far as like what I'm looking for out of this series. However, it was more fun, and what I mean by that is, I think that if all the episodes had released at once, I have a feeling I would have enjoyed that episode more. Because speaking of a palate cleanser, I think it kind of works as like a palate cleanser between what I'm guessing are 2 kind of story arcs that are going to be kind of kicking off.
Right.
And so, I think that was kind of my thing on that one. How about you?
I think the A story was included to give a little more zip and pizzazz to that episode, because the B story was more of a downer story that's going to carry on. So that's my feelings on that episode. So I think they split that up because they wanted to make it more entertaining. It wasn't my favorite episode, but I could see why they did it that way.
Yeah. I do love this. Like now, Roji is now my favorite X-Men character.
Roji.
Yeah. And by the way, like I'm scanning through chat. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Kyle here. I actually agree with you guys. Neither at this point, neither of your comments are going to be highlighted. Because of again, you're welcome to have that conversation. I'm not like going to ban you or block you or anything based on what you guys are saying, but I do recommend maybe agreeing to disagree and walking away on this one for a little bit and returning to this conversation in a different state would be my recommendation. But unless I see something that is absolutely super obvious grounds for removal, you guys can keep talking if you want. I wouldn't recommend it.
I am looking forward to episode 5. I will say that.
Yes, I'm absolutely right there. Can't wait for everything coming out for X-Men 97.
He did Roscoe says he did a line drawing of Dupe on Between the Lines tonight.
That's cool.
That's interesting. So I was on a before this, I was on a Colossus Collectors channel. We did a draft, a 7-person draft, and we drafted our X-Men team of 6 characters.
Oh, okay.
And Dupe was in the pool, and he did get drafted. So
I've never really understood. Dupe to me is one of those characters.
you put him in a pickle jar.
That I always feel like is like the love of him feels ironic to me. Like it doesn't feel genuine sometimes. And I think that maybe it's kind of turned into genuine love maybe over the years of that. But I feel like it was more of like a
that Michael Red run of X characters is interesting. I mean,
yeah, well, and he's in Wolverine and X-Men too quite a bit. The where he has the Jean Grey school. He's the janitor in that arc. So that arc is classic. And I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Dupe. I just having read the entirety of X-Men, I'm like trying to think of like a universe where he ends up on my top 7. That I'm
he was on one of the teams. Because they were like asking for clarification. They're like, well, he has flight, he has super strength, regeneration, and he has an alternate dimensional void inside of him where he can store items or people to keep them safe.
Yeah, I mean the power is definitely there. Like I'm not going to deny that. But also like with a lot of X-Men, like the power creep is real, and like with the right writer, you can. There's a Gambit arc where Gambit becomes like a basically Omega level mutant by the end of it, in his own like I think it was technically an ongoing series, but I want to say it ended up being more of a maxi series. It ran for like 12 issues, I want to say.
My first pick was Jean Grey, so
yeah, that's a good pick. Jean Grey would be very high up there for me because I mean, like the original X-Men all get kind of a huge nod for me, but it's
I had the 5th pick overall, I think, so I ended up with Jean Grey. So
okay, who was number 1 off the board?
You wouldn't believe Wolverine was the number 1 overall pick.
I'm shocked. I tell you,
I am shocked as well. And then at the end, they had a poll where the people who were watching the stream could vote and pick whose team they thought was the best. And I was down to the last like 5 seconds. I was number 2, and then I got up at 3.
It's awesome. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. You know, it
was super fun.
We should think of some topics like that are more like cooperative or interactive with the chat. That would be great.
Yeah, it was super fun. You'll have to check it out. But anyway, palate cleansed.
So here's what I want to talk about. So I have to kind of explain this and set this up, and I'm sorry that there's not like some article I can pull up that talks about it or something like that. It's just not how this story works. So what happened, here's how I interacted with this story. We're going to talk about what happened with SOZOMAIKA. So I had Buddy, who was in our chat earlier. Hopefully he's still around because I want to give him credit for this. He dropped a link in my Discord saying SOZOMAIKA's live on her Whatnot right now, and she's saying some stuff went down with Morpheus Multiverse. I don't know how long the stream was going before I hopped in. I hopped in, listened to what I could. It's one of those things where you're kind of trying to get the context. My point is, I don't have all the information of what she was saying in the beginning of the stream. I think there used to be a way to go back and watch Whatnot streams, but I couldn't figure out a way to do that after this one ended to kind of see like if I could get the whole story. But I was talking to her in the chat and just saying like, hey, do you need some help with this? Like, is there anything I can do? Like, I know people that work at Whatnot. I know people that are involved in this story. Like, hey, can I be a mediator here. And she said, okay, thanks, buddy. I'm glad you're still here, by the way. And she said, like, hey, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, so that's when I decided, like, I'm not going to do a video about it or anything like that, because I don't have all the information. And one of the affected parties is sitting there saying, like, I don't want like a bunch of videos being made about this. So as I understand it, a bunch of videos got made about this after that. Not by me.
No.
I don't know what all. I haven't watched any of them, but I know there's some stuff out there. So here's the deal. Basically, what was being said, and buddy, I would love your clarification on this, on whether I get this right. But basically, there were some claims being made that customers were not getting their product, and that what had happened is, and this is the part I don't fully understand how it originally worked out. I believe Morpheus Multiverse, who's a whatnot seller, Instagram. By the way, I've been on a stream with him. I was on a Journo's Comics and Pop Culture stream with him a while ago. I don't even remember what the topic was. And I've always gotten along great with him. I've never had any kind of problems with him whatsoever. Apparently he ran a stream, or maybe more than one, where people were not getting their product and were complaining. There were some hits happening on SOZOMAIKA's account from people complaining and some asking for refunds and stuff like that, which can negatively affect your account, of course. And so what I did immediately is, like, I quietly reached out to Morpheus Multiverse and I said, hey, SOZOMAIKA's live. She's saying some stuff about not being able to get in touch with you. Is there anything I can do to get you guys in touch with each other to get this resolved? So Buddy says he was running her page with his email on her page on whatnot. Okay. And so I reached out to him, and then I reached out to somebody who I know knew both people. I've met SOZOMAIKA before at a con as a fan. I told her about my channel, stuff like that. She doesn't know who I am. I've hopped in her streams and stuff before. I think she recognizes my name and stuff, but I don't think she like knows who I am really, or didn't. And I didn't want to like make it a big deal, but I wanted people to, hopefully get in contact with each other and start doing the right thing. So I contacted somebody else. I won't say who his name is right now. But I knew that he's friends with Morpheus, and I knew he had a working relationship in the past with SOZOMAIKA. We got Morpheus to get in touch. Here's the deal. He was out of the country. That's what I'll say. I'm not going to say the details of what was going on, because I don't have the right to say that because it was shared privately. But he wasn't around. He was on, I think vacation. I actually don't even know, but I know he wasn't in the country. And part of that was me reaching out to SOZOMAIKA, and I wanted to say, like, hey, do you still need help with this? I know he's saying things happen in communications in touch, but I just want to make sure everything's okay and you don't need any help. She appreciated the concern, and she actually wanted to clarify some of what's been going on. So I did make the offer. I said, hey, you're more than welcome to come on the show. And I think, for various totally understandable reasons, I don't think she wanted to come on and talk about it too much. She's not, I wouldn't describe her as a very like, public person that wants to talk about this kind of stuff, especially. I think, talking about art is a little bit different. But I don't think, in her career maybe, but I don't think she really wants to talk about this kind of stuff. And that's totally fair, by the way. But I got permission to share, kind of the gist of it. And I know from her, she's in communication now. Steps are being taken to resolve, the orders and the issues that happened. So if you're still affected by this, I encourage you to reach out to her or Morpheus or me if you feel like you want to, and I can get you in touch with them or whatever. If you're still being negatively affected by anything that happened, that would be my advice. And I know that she wanted people to basically stop vilifying Morpheus, making him out to be, like a scammer or something like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit. I don't want to read her words because that was her wish. And she acknowledges that he made some mistakes. There was some poor communication, but things are getting right back on the correct track now. And I think it's fair for me to say that people that were going to get their money back that needed it back, and will be taken care of. And I think it's fair to say that like she's changing some directions in how she's going to operate business, based on this. I think that's kind of what I'm cleared to say. So the reason why this needed to come up is because you have somebody out here who's seeing some comments come out about them and their personal relationships and dealings. There's more going on about this that I don't even really want to get into. But there's people like making accusations or saying like they know things that happened that directly from the horse's mouth didn't happen, in regards to some business relationships and some personal relationships with other people. So when it comes to stuff like this, this is really sad. She just had her birthday the other day. She's trying to celebrate it, and this is all happening, and she's feeling, I think it's fair to say, feeling pretty bad about people being concerned about what's going on. And, I think it was the right thing for her. Like, cheers to her for going live and talking about what was going on and trying to communicate with her customers, with her fans that were concerned about the situation. I will tell you that, in my experience, Morpheus has always been a really stand-up guy. I know he's helped a lot of people. And so it's somebody I definitely hope, with kind of some of the themes we've talked about tonight, we seek to understand before we assume is my takeaway from this. And with this situation, I really think that it sounds to me like every party involved is pretty confident everybody's gonna be taken care of. And it probably created more problems than it solved to have like a bunch of chatter going out there about, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of folks out there that they want to turn this stuff into the next big drama. They want to turn it into the next big story. We talked about clicks and clickbait and all that stuff earlier. All I'll say about it is I hope at some point, I hope she can come on and talk about her career and her art, the good stuff, the positive stuff. I think she's a genuinely interesting person, and a fantastic, very talented artist, that I hope we see in this business for a long time to come. But I will say stuff like this can ruin it for artists. Like, there are artists out there that really get burnt out on the drama and the bad business dealings, and like they want to, for the most part, artists are artists, not business people. There's some crossover there where it works really well, and those are exceptions I think we can all think of. But when it doesn't work out correctly, it can be a problem, because they often, like, artists need to make a living. They need to make money. They don't necessarily get paid as much as you might think doing some of the things they do.
Right.
And they need to kind of come up with some of that extra income, and people are willing to help them out, but sometimes those people aren't always on the up and up. I don't think that's this situation. That's the important part I want to convey to people is, looks like things are going to get ironed out there. So that was a lot.
Yeah, lots to unpack there. Yeah. I was just talking to a shop that you and I both know that they had somebody in there representing artists. And then that person, when COVID happened, everything kind of fell apart, and they disappeared with all the artists' art and money. And the person who was leasing space to them in the store is left holding the bag.
Wow.
So,
yeah, it's. I guess it's the kind of the thing I'm thinking about is it's part of what's been tough for me for a while now. Is every time I want to be in front of the camera, be talking to people about comics and the good they can do and the good they've done for me and the good that I know they've done for a lot of you. Like, we talk about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So many people have had comics be there for them as a form of escapism, wish fulfillment, all these different kinds. So it's been good for their mental health, but then there's all this stuff happens now. And look, I'll say it, man. There's a lot of people out here that do this kind of stuff that are jackals.
Yeah.
At least that's what it feels like to me.
I think
And
that's in every aspect of life, unfortunately, and we see it from time to time here, and unfortunately, it kind of dominates the headlines sometimes. So, like you said, we want kind of on our show, we want to kind of try to accentuate the positive, right?
yeah,
And so speaking of art, we're going to try to encourage our art community, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And you and I, we wanted to start like doing something where we highlight viewer art, correct?
For sure.
So if any of our viewers have a piece of art that you would like to see shown on our next show, you can send it to me. Send a picture to me on Instagram, and I will get it over to Bronze. Bronze has asked me to spearhead that. So Bigby McFly on Instagram, and we just kind of want to encourage our art community and help you guys. And we'll celebrate you guys. So
Yeah.
there's that.
So yes, I mean, like, you know, and just to kind of say like a little bit extra, as I was reading your comment there, Richard, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. You know, it's one of those things where like, it's not that we're not going to talk about heavy topics or things that are depressing or things that come from, you know, they might on the surface be negative. It's not that we're not going to talk about that. It's that we're going to make sure we're a place to talk about it. And have that positivity come out of it, hopefully. And I'll be honest, like this is a real-time reaction. Tonight was a difficult night for it.
It was. I mean, we were kind of freeform talking. We didn't really know how we were going to handle this, but I think that it came out the best way we could, where we're talking about the unfortunate situation that happened and how to try to help people you might know or yourself if you're going through it. I mean, yeah. So we want to try to accentuate or help things to end up in a positive way if we can, rather than so. That's kind of the whole discussion you and I had when we first started talking about doing this show together. Is I don't want to just be another show where we're talking about all the terrible things going on and jumping on the bandwagon and piling on. I want to talk about the good things.
And you know, folks, just to be, you know, again, the format and everything, like we're trying to go every 2 weeks. The day may switch a little because Monday night isn't the ideal night, but it just kind of works out with scheduling and everything. But we, you know, might try to do weekends every once in a while, like a Friday, Saturday night show, like we did last time, because we know a lot of people are more free to watch and stuff like that too. You know, but it's about every 2 weeks. And so this is only our second episode. And so we have a lot of like positive, good stuff planned. Like what Bigby's talking about here, where we want to start highlighting some of the community art. And just kind of, you know, giving people a chance to show stuff off.
Roscoe, send me your dupe pickle drawing.
There you go, man. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that and share that 100%. That's a good example. And like, you know, I know this is a huge point of contention with some people. What is a community artist? All that kind of stuff. Like if you're watching, you're part of my community. That's what I'm talking about. You know, our community, not my community. Yeah, so like if you're watching, that's what we're talking about. Like, you know, if you want your art displayed on here, as long as it's appropriate, you know, like I do booty covers, like all that stuff, it's fine. But as long as I can get away with showing it, you know, that's what we want to do. And so there's going to be like kind of topics like that. And the idea there is, you know, eventually, I'll be honest with you, what I'd love to do is we'd love to like kind of maybe do like a prize or like even if it's like a no prize, like an award kind of a thing or something like that, right? Or like we have like maybe we have winners for each show, and then eventually we try to reward one of the artists at the end of the year or something like that. I don't know. Try to do something.
We've talked about, you know, having like some kind of a giveaway or something. So we'll see what we can round up to get together for things. But we would just love to see drawings that you guys do and in your creative. And don't be shy if you are not the world's greatest artist. I should show some of my early stuff from when I was a little kid. That'll make you guys feel good.
Well, when we get to that point too, like we'll probably even show off some of like our art as part of that too, or something like that, something we did that week or whatever, just to kind of, you know, icebreaker or whatever.
Cat dog Loki versus Thor. That sounds good.
Like, yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not I'm not a guy who's done professionally published artwork before, unlike some people I know.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But
Jay,
yeah,
were you prepared tonight, Bronze, to do the drawing for this, or do you want to postpone on doing the
so
drawing?
that's the last thing I was gonna mention to you. I did want to acknowledge two more quick things that are important.
Oh, sure.
But
Yes.
yeah, let's ask. So here, do you think it's better to do that right now, or do you think it's better to do like a wheel picker or something like that, like on our IG or something like that tomorrow? Maybe give people a chance to watch this and donate.
I would defer to you as far as like, I mean, the wheel picker is probably going to be the best way to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, I'll defer to you as far as what you think is best.
Okay.
But did you want to highlight that link one more time too for people?
That's where I was going with that. So here's what you got to do, because I'm sorry I didn't give the whole instructions before, but basically what we'd like you to do to be considered for this is the GoFundMe for Jen. What I'd like you to do is go donate $10 or more to her GoFundMe, and then DM Bigby or myself, either one, whatever you're more comfortable with, or whoever you're already connected with or whatever. Although go follow Bigby if you're not following him already, and maybe vice versa. This is Jen, by the way, somebody who we've both met up with and talked about in videos before and want to support. And then I'm gonna
nicest gal in the world.
highlight Bigby here and make him the large screen so you can see that print there. That's the art from the artist. He goes by Hardline Ray. Go check him out, Ray Johnson. And it's a great Kingpin piece. Anyways, you can win that. All you got to do is do $10 or more to Jen's GoFundMe. It's for her fight against cancer, and then DM us. If you want to donate and not be considered for the drawing, several people have done that. That's fine. Just let us know you don't want to be considered for the drawing if you want to let us know you donated. But yeah, that's the situation. And then what I think we'll do is we'll have it be tomorrow. We'll get something up, in the next day or two, I guess I should say, and we'll have something up to give people a chance to watch the stream, and donate to her cause, because that way we're going to raise more funds. And then check my IG or his IG, or we'll do that thing where you can kind of co-tag each other maybe or whatever.
Right.
And that way you'll be able to see like a wheel picker with the people that were qualified to enter. Yes.
Somebody said she had already hit her goal, but I said on another stream, I said that they put that number out there just so we had a number out there. She's still racking up bills and expenses that are associated with this cancer treatment. So we just want to continue to support her. And, it's a stretch goal, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I mean, it's amazing that they hit that goal, because that's a very nice goal. But I think we can do better.
Yeah.
So, but real fast. So please go do that. But real fast, what I wanted to acknowledge before we left, we talked about one major passing that happened this last week, but there's actually been two more in the comic community. And I wanted to make sure we highlighted those, just in the interest of, they're people that, their art meant a lot to people, and they're not with us anymore.
Okay.
One is Mark Bright. Mark Bright is, like, his artwork on G.I. Joe is emblazoned on my memory. I know a lot, like Green Lantern. He did a really big run there. MD Bright is another name he was known by. Go check out his work. Go read something MD Bright did. He did some stuff like in the late 80s issue numbers and the early 90s issue numbers of G.I. Joe, and like some covers and some interior art. He did like a lot of cool vehicle work, which is great for a G.I. Joe comic.
Right.
He passed away. And then the other person is an artist named Scott Blair. And Scott Blair, I hate to reduce somebody's art to this, but I always thought of him as that foot fetish guy, because he did a lot of artwork that had foot fetish features in it. He just did. Like, I have no other way to say it. But a lot of people were talking about his passing and what a nice guy he was, and how much he meant to them. And he was also a very young guy that we lost to. I just want to make sure we acknowledge those people. Rest in peace. I think it's important that we respect those creators that aren't with us anymore. So,
absolutely important. Makes you just cherish every day you got, right? And like, be nice to people and share kindness and love and share your love of comics with everybody. You know, it's just you never know how long you have with people.
I want to see if I can. People are probably going to be like, "What are you talking about?" I was going to see if I can. I don't know. If it's social media
fetish artwork.
Yeah, it was impressive. Is what I always thought of it as. I don't know if this page is. Might have got switched over to private or something like that, which is totally understandable. But go check out some artwork there and read some comic books and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with some new topics. We'll probably have some new segments and some new shiny graphics and that kind of stuff by then too for some other things that I've been working on that weren't quite ready to go for this one. But
we've got all kinds of topics. We had a backload of topics from when we first started. Decided to talk about this show.
some rapscallion named Swaghouse came on here and talked about a bunch of awesome stuff.
I think we started. Bronze and I had been planning this for a while, and we started putting together show notes and ideas of topics, things to talk about. And I think we got a little overzealous and starting to. So we were well prepared.
I mean, the good thing is we get like these good conversations that are, and they're good. They're good. They're productive. I think like
I don't mind getting into a good in-depth conversation where we have good discussion between the two of us and the chat. And we're going to be, and that one topic could carry us through most of the show as long as it's engaging and entertaining. So.
Yeah, we'll honor our commitments that we have or like major important things. But like, I'm always down for like, if something takes over, then great. That means it was a good conversation and we needed to have it. I'm going to ask you guys all to do a favor though. So I do have Bigby's links for his channel, his Instagram down below. Go give him a follow, please. Like, go subscribe to his channel. I think that like more of you, that as you're starting to kind of watch the stream, I want you familiar with his content and what he's doing. Please go check it out. He's a great guy. I don't lightly enter into having a co-host onto my channel. I did it for a reason. He's been an awesome friend, and I really want you guys to go check out his stuff. So please
that's a good request. Richard is asking if we can hit up Swaggle and get a signed copy of Sanity to give away.
I'll reach out and ask him. For sure. That's a good one. So I need to go back his Kickstarter too, as I haven't done that yet. But it's one of those things where like the comic funds are freed up. I'm probably going to go support Jen's GoFundMe and back his Kickstarter and do a couple of things I need to take care of too. So here's the night crew coming in. Like we got Rico's T-Rex, we got GT Key back in the house.
Yeah, there they go.
Man, you're all storming.
Say the beards are back. Well, Roscoe's got to be. You got the beard too, buddy. We'll have to have you on sometime.
We would have to change it from the proposed idea of between two beards to between three beards. And there probably will be more guests in the future too. It's not going to be a guest every episode kind of a thing, but I'm sure at some point we'll have guests on too as it warrants it. But yeah, how about you, Bigby? Anything going on this week on your channel? Anything you want to talk about? Anything that we didn't hit?
Man, I was on 3 shows tonight, so I think I just front loaded the whole week in one night.
There you go.
So I just would really like to see people get behind Jen's GoFundMe and see where we can get with this raffle. And I'm excited to give this piece away to somebody, and excited for our next show that we have together coming up soon. So keep an eye out for notifications for that. And I am going to be on. When is that coming up? Not this Sunday, but the Sunday following. I'm going to be on a group claim sale for a group of friends of mine on Colossus Collectors channel. So,
you're going to be part of that? I just saw something about that on Dan's IG page earlier today.
Yeah, Colossus put together, Ryan from Colossus put together an amazing ad for that. I don't know if you guys have seen it, where he's blowing the conch horn like, I need my friends. And he's like, assemble, and it's echoing, and the birds flying, and
right on. And so when that's like next week?
not this coming Sunday, but the Sunday following.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing that. And yeah, it's just going to be a group claim sale, and they didn't put me in the thumbnail, but I am going to be part of it. So,
oh, I see. We got to get the Bigby respect on that thing.
I committed late. Let's say that. So.
Oh, okay, there you go. So,
I just picked up a collection, and the reason I committed late, I didn't have anything priced and graded, and the collection that I picked up was already pre-priced and graded and has posting notes on the back of every book. So it's like, it's all done for me.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, folks, I think that's it for our show. We're kind of hearing about the 2-hour mark, and I got a sick kiddo and some stuff I got to deal with upstairs. So I will need to be jumping off here. But yeah, stay tuned for the drawing for the sketch, for the print. And then come back on for 2 weeks. We'll have another show with hopefully some really interesting topics that everybody's going to be engaged on in the chat. And then make sure you go check out Bigby's channel and go follow Colossus Collector for the Avengers Assemble moment of sellers for their claim sale. Go check that out. And yeah, we'll see.
Thanks everybody for being here and being active tonight in the chat. Really appreciated all of you guys being here. So
absolutely.
And hit me
have
up,
a great night, everybody.
On IG with art.
Yes. Please do that. All right, guys. Everybody have a great night. Have a great week. Be excellent to each other, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later.